Good evening and welcome to our daily devotional reading. A kind reminder that we are reading through all the undisputed dialogues of Plato in one year. That being said, let's settle down, open our minds and our hearts, turn inward and listen to Plato. We are starting with Crito today. Crito is set in the prison of where Socrates is. It's also one of the dialogues that centers around the final days of Socrates. And so I put makeup on my nose in case I start crying again. Socrates. Why have you come at this hour, Crito? It must be quite early. Crito. Yes, certainly. What is the exact time? The dawn is breaking. I wonder the keeper of a prison would let you in. He knows me because I often come, Socrates. Moreover, I have done him a kindness. And you only just came? No, I came some time ago. Then why did you sit and say nothing instead of awakening me at once? Why, indeed, Socrates, I myself would rather not have all this sleeplessness and sorrow, but I have been wondering at your peaceful slumbers, and that was the reason why I did not awaken you, because I wanted you to be out of pain. I've always thought you happy in the calmness of your temperament, but never did I see the like of the easy, cheerful way in which you bear this calamity. Why, Crito, when a man has reached my age, he ought not to be repining at the prospect of death. And yet other old men find themselves in similar misfortunes, and age does not prevent them from repining. That may be, but you have not told me why you came at this early hour. I come to bring you a message which is sad and painful, not, as I believe, to yourself, but to all of us who are your friends, and the saddest of all, to me. What? I suppose that the ship has come from Delos, on the arrival of which I am to die. No, the ship has not actually arrived, but she will probably be here today, as persons who have come from Sunium tell me that they have left her there, and therefore tomorrow, Socrates, will be the last day of your life. Very well, Crito. If such is the will of God, I am willing. But my belief is that there will be a delay of a day. Why do you say this? I will tell you. I am to die on the day after the arrival of the ship. Yes, that was what the authorities say. But I do not think that the ship will be here until tomorrow. This I gather from a vision which I had last night, or rather only just now, when you fortunately allowed me to sleep. And what was the nature of the vision? There came to me the likeness of a woman, fair and comely, clothed in white raiment, who called to me and said, O Socrates, the third day hence to Thea thou shalt go. What a singular dream, Socrates! There can be no doubt about the meaning, Crito, I think. Yes, the meaning is only too clear. But oh, my beloved Socrates, let me entreat you once more to take my advice and escape. For if you die, I shall not only lose a friend who can never be replaced, but there is another evil. People do not know you and me People who do not know you and me will believe that I might have saved you if I had been willing to give money, but that I did not care. Now can there be a worse disgrace than this, that I should be thought to value money more than the life of a friend? For the many will not be persuaded that I wanted you to escape, and that you refused. But why, my dear Crito, should we care about the opinion of the many? Good men, and they are the only persons who are worth considering, will think of these things truly as they happen. But do you see, Socrates, that the opinion of the many must be regarded, as is evident in your own case, because they can do the very greatest evil to anyone who has lost their good opinion? I only wish, Crito, that they could, for then they could also do the greatest good, and that would be well. But the truth is that they can do neither good nor evil. They cannot make a man wise or make him foolish, and whatever they do is the result of chance. Well, I will not dispute about that, but please do tell, Socrates, whether you are not acting out of regard to me and your other friends. Are you not afraid that if you escape hence, we may get into trouble with the informers for having stolen you away, and lose either the whole or a great part of our property, or that even a worse evil may happen to us? Now, if this is your fear, be at ease, for in order to save you, we ought surely to run this or even a greater risk. Be persuaded then, and do as I say. Yes, Crito, that is one fear which you mention, but by no means the only one. Fear not. There are persons who at no great cost are willing to save you and bring you out of prison. And as for the informers, you may observe that they are far from being exorbitant in their demands. A little money will satisfy them. My means, which, as I am sure, are ample, are at your service, and if you have a scruple about spending all mine, here are strangers who will give you the use of theirs. And one of them, Simmias the Theban, has brought a sum of money for this very purpose, and Cebes and many others are willing to spend their money too. I say, therefore, do not on that account hesitate about making your escape, and do not say, as you did in the court, that you will have a difficulty in knowing what to do with yourself if you escape. For men will love you in other places to which you may go, and not in Athens only. They are friends of mine in Thessaly, if you like to go to them, who will value and protect you. And no Thessalian will give you any trouble, nor can I think that you are justified, Socrates, in betraying your own life when you might be saved. This is playing into the hands of your enemies and destroyers. And moreover, I should say that you were betraying your children, for you might bring them up and educate them, instead of which you go away and leave them, and they will have to take their chance. And if you do not meet with the usual fate of if they do not meet with the usual fate of orphans, there will be small thanks to you. No man should bring children into the world who is unwilling to persevere to the end in their nurture and education. But you are choosing the easier part, as I think, not the better and manlier, which would rather have become one who professes virtue in all his actions, like yourself. And indeed I am ashamed not only of you, but of us who are your friends, who I reflect that have come on or might have been brought to another issue, and the end of all, which is the crowning absurdity, will seem to have been permitted by us, through cowardice and baseness, who might have saved you, as you might have saved yourself, if we had been good for anything, for there was no difficulty in escaping. And we did not see how disgraceful, Socrates, and all miserable all this will be to us as well as to you. Make your mind up then, or rather have your mind already made up, for the time of deliberation is over, and there is only one thing to be done, which must be done, if at all, this very night, and which any delay will render all but impossible. I beseech you, therefore, Socrates, to be persuaded by me, and to do as I say. Dear Crito, your zeal is invaluable, if a right one. But if wrong, the greater the zeal, the greater the evil. And therefore we ought to consider whether these things shall be done or not. For I am and always have been one of those natures who must be guided by reason, whatever the reason may be, which upon reflection appears to me to be the best. And now that this fortune has come upon me, I cannot put away the reasons which I have before given. The principles which I have hitherto honoured and revered, I still honour, and unless you can find other and better principles on the instant, I am certain not to agree with you. No, not even if the power of the multitude could inflict many more imprisonments, confiscations, death frightening us like children with hobgoblin terrors. But what will be the fairest way of considering the question? Shall I return to your old argument about the opinions of men, some of which are to be regarded and others, as we were saying, are not to be regarded? Now, were we right in maintaining this before I was condemned? And has the argument which was once good now proved to be talk for the sake of talking? In fact, an amusement only, and altogether vanity? That is what I want to consider with your help, Crito. Whether under my present circumstances the argument appears to be in any way different or not, and is to be allowed by me or disallowed. That argument, which, as I believe, is maintained by many who assume to be authorities, was to the effect, as I was saying, that the opinions of some men are to be regarded, and of other men not to be regarded. Thus far our scripture of the day. Before I say anything else, I want to praise Socrates for his devotion to reason. That even in the face of death, of being annihilated, of coming to an end, he still holds calmly to the principle that if it is reasonable, I will follow. If it is not reasonable, well then, it ends there. I love Socrates with all my heart, and I wish I could follow him with all my heart, to always and everywhere stay only within reason. But I fear I'm a creature with two spirits living in my breast. I am quite a dreamer, a mystic even, on the one hand. And on the other hand, I'm quite a hardcore skeptic. And so I thought I should state that, Just in case maybe you find me a little bit confusing, know that it is because I myself am quite confused. Would that I could stay within reason. Though I want to tell you the story of today. And maybe I'm not as woohoo as I think I am. Or maybe I am. I see synchronicities everywhere. And I can justify it by my current worldview. If all is one, everything is interconnected, of course there's going to be synchronicities. So this morning I attended the Socrates Cafe, which is held here in Amsterdam, by lovely people. And the question that I brought, because we will get to bring questions and then we choose, and the question I brought was decided to be one of the questions for discussion, and it was basically this. I cannot for the life of me remember the exact detail of every dialogue yet. To what extent should we let others direct how we live our lives, our choices? And I find it extremely interesting that the opinion of the many, whose opinion we should pay attention to and whose not, will be under question, not only tonight, but for the next at least 1, maybe 2 nights. Because Crito has 3 nights allocated to it. The conclusion that we came to during our discussion this morning was indeed that some might deserve sway over our choices more than others. What I personally took from that is to consider all opinions. I did not use the word reason, but I might have. It is easily swapped for what I did say. To examine all opinions that come our way by the standard of reason, and then judge, to incorporate or not. And of course, those close to us, dear friends, should and do carry more weight than others. But Crito is a pretty close friend of Socrates, and his opinion too is not capable of swaying Socrates, because it does not weigh heavier than reason itself. The question is, to what extent and how do we evaluate the opinions and the judgments that others throw at us? And what I decided, what I want to do, based on the discussion that we had, is determine who do I want to be? What kind of character do I want to develop? And then judge the advice or reprimand given. My apologies for so many of the, I think I said this before, of the pronunciations. English is obviously not my first language. Deciding into what extent is the advice in line with the character you're trying to develop. I think that is what Socrates, if I'm trying to look forward to what's coming in Crito, that is kind of what Socrates is doing. He wants to be a certain man, a good man. And he wants to be faithful to the laws, which will come through tomorrow or the day after. And that is against which he evaluates the opinions of others. Do the views that others try to settle us with, would it make us wise? Or would it make us foolish? That is the question. I also decided that I want the collective, the Leviathan, as Hobbes was quoted during this morning's discussion, to refer to us, to be as human as possible. And hence I will be as human as possible. And I was silent there because I was thinking of things that I could possibly share with you that's maybe on a more personal note. And I'm reluctant to do so because, we're not supposed to talk about ourselves. And when I was a preacher in church, I've already lost my faith. But I promised that I made a promise to myself, no one else. Those tend to be the only promises I keep. To preach only the word and the tradition, and not any opinion of my own, not anything of my own. And that was good. I think that was the right choice. I'm not sure that would be the right choice now. It did cause extreme distress in my being. I felt like I had absolutely no integrity. I understood why I did it, for the sake of the community, of the sake of a congregation. But especially when my sermons were praised, appreciated, when people were touched by it, I would literally, maybe it doesn't mean that much because clearly I'm someone who cries easily, but I would cry afterwards. And I don't want to cry because I'm not being real anymore, ever again. I was reading this book today. I'm only halfway through. And Rilke speaks of being real. And I had to think of how truth for me has become a question of what is real. And not in the sense of, oh, be your authentic self. I don't believe in the self, so I believe in who I want to be, and trying to steer my this in that direction. Rilke speaks on here in one letter to Lou about how he tried different ways, things that society propose to be real. I used to think it would be better if I would one day have a house, a wife, a child. Things that were real and undeniable. I thought that I would become more visible, more palpable, more real. But, and then there's a long but. And then it ends, but it does not give me the feeling of reality, that sense of equal worth that I so sorely need, to be a real person among real things. I just want to be real. And I thank you for coming on this journey with me. May the spirit of Sophia be with you.